Hello everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share an update on our project. If you heard my last presentation, our group had just started meeting in person back in March. Since then, we've got a lot more done. We've had 3 group meetings in May, July, and August, and 2 large group meetings in September and October. There are 12 participants. Some have dropped out, some have joined late. We are working collaboratively and individually with drawing, painting, photography, filmmaking, storytelling, musical theater, woodworking, sculpture, and fabric art. We are following principles of community-engaged practice. We include input from all participants and involve our process through this feedback and learning at every stage. The result so far is an organic and meaningful engagement that is bringing people together, bringing families together, creating new friendships and support networks, and capturing moments of beauty, clarity, and connection. What are the next steps? Ongoing work, a few more meetings over the coming months, an exhibition at the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery, April to May 2023, and a local community tour later next year. Currently, there's no way to know exactly what the result of this project will look like. We're all still making it. However, some of the stories and observations I will share in this presentation will give you a sense of where we are at and where we're going. I'm making this presentation in my role as director and curator at the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery, but please know that the stories and observations all come from the 2 lead artists, Alana Moore and Amber Phelps-Bondroff. Their work on this project has been amazing, beyond words. Making this presentation, I found myself overwhelmed with the beauty and connection in so many moments Amber and Alana have facilitated. We met in small groups with 1 or 2 people on May 28th and May 29th. We scheduled at least 1.5 hours to spend with each group. These meetings were a great opportunity to get to know each other on a more personal level, to check in about creative projects and general life updates since our last meeting, our first large group meeting back in March. Art materials and supplies were provided to folks at this meeting based on conversations we've had over the past 2 months by phone and email. Our goals for these meetings included to get to know one another, to converse about likes, interests, and personal histories, to share ideas about creative projects. We suggested other artists and artworks to look at, to inspire participants to experiment and to acknowledge skills they already possess. Some people entered the project assuming that they would need to learn how to draw and paint in order to participate. While this may be appropriate for some, we've encouraged others to work outside of these parameters of what art is and what an artist does. I'll just interject here myself to say that this is something I've been learning more about since working with Alana and Amber. Art therapy, or art in a therapy or medical context, too often looks like everyone painting birdhouses. The same activity prescribed for everyone, projected onto them, not in collaboration with them. As you'll hear in this presentation, the diversity of interests and expression in our small group is amazing and inspiring. It clearly demonstrates the value of community-engaged practice in this kind of work, with participant input and direction informing the design and delivery of the programming. We plan to create a workbook summarizing this for the Alzheimer's Society online hub, for the benefit of other people and organizations who want to engage with people living with dementia in an art-making project. We left participants with some light homework, things to try before our next meeting, artists they should look into, and a list of possible materials and equipment we could bring at our next meeting. We tried to create a very low-pressure environment, emphasizing the process of exploration as we are all still early on in the project. We followed up with emails summarizing key points from our conversations. We had a great conversation about performing, and R lit up when remembering theater shows he had acted in or directed. We played some songs from My Fair Lady, and he began to sing along, coming alive as a performer. We're going to follow up on this direction at our next meeting. We agreed to stop in for just a brief hello and ended up spending nearly an hour chatting and sharing artworks with one another. V had done dozens of drawings prior to getting sick and seemed to liven up considerably over the course of our visit. We discussed needing more space for her to make drawings, as she has only a small table in her room. We plan to bring a better working surface at our next visit. M told us the process was really organic. You both melded with us and our family. You were very open. You didn't have any preconceived ideas of what we should do, and were open to what we have in mind. You both came with great ideas, too. Jay used to draw and paint quite a lot, and she also wrote personal histories of her family. She is a visual artist, writer, historian, and photographer. Jay's care partner is her daughter, who also brought her own kids to our session. They are all interested in doing an intergenerational project and having the grandkids involved. They plan to come up with questions to ask Nana, as well as staging photographs and making drawings from her stories. We met everyone again in small groups in July on the 16th and the 17th. We met at Elle's room in the care home. B had brought along a vinyl record and CD version of Elle's album that was recorded in the 1970s. We listened from start to finish, and Elle sang along to the entire album. He remembered all of the words, musical parts, and stories from making the record, which he shared with great enthusiasm throughout our time together. The visit was quite emotional, with everyone breaking into tears numerous times while listening to the music. B shared that she wants to work on a lightbox type sculpture using photographs from her family and recipes. She has also started making handmade cards. 4 participants asked to meet together as a group, which we did at one of their homes in Saltcoats. M has been making cards and showed us one that she made for herself. We discussed making cards and sharing them with another participant in the project. This created some space for a nice exchange between these 2 people, who both have a role as a care partner. M seems to resonate with specific homework assignments, and we decided that she should set up a devoted space to work on her cards before we meet next. Something like a studio in a downstairs guest room, so she doesn't have to clean up and set up every time she wants to work. We visited with V, who lives in the care home in Yorkton. She has been participating on her own, until recently, now that her granddaughter has joined the project. V draws avidly, having made a whole collection of drawings since we last visited. She requested more photos of old buildings in Yorkton to look at and draw from, which we will get for her. We brought a folding table that can rest over her chair so she has a better surface to work on instead of working on her bed. A while back, V mentioned loving smoked salmon, something she couldn't get at the care home. We brought her smoked salmon and cream cheese to have on bagels, and she was quite pleased. We came back in August for more small group meetings with everyone. We visited H and E. Their kitchen table had been converted into an art-making station. We all sat around the table working on drawing, watercolors, and collage. E said she was looking forward to the upcoming large group meeting. She really enjoys the social aspects of the project. We met with J, T, and T's sister. We also got to meet their family friend who was staying with them. He was helping with editing video footage they took on their family trip to BC. It was something the family had planned for a long time, and it was clearly a special experience for everyone. Jay lit up when talking about the trip and the time she spent with family. As a group, they decided to use this as an opportunity to interview the kids and grandkids about memories they have of Jay from that trip and from other times. They are planning to make a video from these interviews. The whole idea is inspired by an incredible book that Jay wrote years ago, a family record called Maria's Memories, for which Jay interviewed her grandmother. They are connecting across 6 generations through this unique art project. It seems V is more productive when we aren't there. Evidently, she is inspired to make art in her own free time. So instead of drawing together, we talked with V and listened to some of her frustrations with living in the nursing home. She showed us some of her recent drawings, and we delivered the photographs the gallery had printed out of local historic buildings. V was happy to get some color photos for reference in her drawings, and she requested photos of horses for our next visit. R was in good spirits when we arrived. It was a gorgeous day, and we set up in the backyard, which R and P had decided would be a good backdrop. They brought out a costume that R wore back in his theater days when he played in My Fair Lady. As we had discussed the last time we met, we came prepared to make some videos of R singing or whistling. P and R have a friend who played piano with them in the theater, and they recently recorded their friend playing the piano and singing one of the songs from My Fair Lady. We played that recording in the background for R to sing along with. Picture the scene. R, dressed up in his wig, hat, and blazer, full of joy, listening, whistling, and singing along. We used the DSLR camera, Zoom audio recorder, and Amber's phone to record a few takes. We certainly have enough footage to edit. We had a large group meeting at the gallery on September 17th. At this meeting, we were all together again for the first time since March. We wanted to check in with everyone, get updates on creative projects, brainstorm new ideas, ask questions, and share life updates. We began with a presentation of photos showing the different art projects that all the participants have been working on, with their permission, of course. This was especially useful for participants working with audio or video, and for projects that are difficult to transport to the gallery, for example, woodworking and sculpture. We talked about meeting in either small groups or as a large group. Everyone agreed that our small group meetings have been great, but we thought more meetings altogether would be useful. These sessions are helping people make connections with one another. During the coffee break, a few care partners told Alana how challenging it is to find time to talk to one another. Our meeting felt like a place where they could finally do that, and we witnessed participants sharing and listening to each other, celebrating each other's successes and joyful moments, and holding space for difficult emotions. We tried a group art activity where we asked participants to create individual pieces that we would collage together into one large piece. We asked ourselves, where do you find yourself in this moment? This is about creating a pause and a check-in with ourselves. Our initial idea was to glue all the resulting artworks together onto a large board, but after seeing the completed pieces, we all agreed it didn't feel right to glue them down quite yet. So we've kept them separate and will imagine a new way to potentially hang the pieces together. Next year, the exhibition at the Godfrey Dean Art Gallery and the following local community tour will be created out of these kinds of art actions, experiments, discoveries, and collaborations. Everyone involved is telling a story of some kind and sharing things about themselves. They're working across artistic disciplines freely and guided by two very thoughtful and inspiring lead artists, Alana Moore and Amber Phelps-Bondaroff. Thank you very much for your time and attention with this presentation. I hope that it gave you a sense of where our project is at and where we're going.